go to rooms where everybody in the room is suited and is selling $5 million homes, and there's 35 of them and one mover. And the reason only one mover can show up there is because only one mover can continue to show up there, because we don't fuck our clients. Ever. We never fail. We always perform. And then a large part of my job is covering up problems and showering issues that happen in big moves and little moves with customer service, from a Nordstrom approach to customer service.
Welcome to Movified Wednesdays. Let's go. Welcome to Movified Wednesdays.
Welcome back to Movified. I'm your host, Mark Hirschi, owner of Salmons and Ellis Moving and Storage, located in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. It is Movified Wednesdays. I can't do it alone without my co-host, my best friend, Stephen Reed, with Big League Movers out in Memphis, Tennessee, and On Deck Deliveries, and of course, Ready Rolls.
.com. Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate the intro.
And soon to be a circuit speaker, I might add.
I know he's definitely getting the rounds. Well, you know what? I appreciate it. Today's guest didn't build by buying leads. We're gonna go deep into that because he rebuilt it himself first. Derek Greene with Get Your Move On, located out in Phoenix, Arizona. He scaled it through going through recovery, discipline, hard discipline, relationships, and then has even expanded into another venture that we're going to get deep in. This is how it works, ladies and gentlemen. This is how you go from, nothing,
zero,
put
zero
your time
plus.
in to zero plus. Derek, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor.
Derek, I'm so excited to have you and have our listeners. Sorry, Mark, but I'm so excited about our guest
I was
today.
going to say.
Yeah,
we told Derek, listen,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm like, we let Derek know, look, this is exciting, this is loud, this is bright, and Derek tunes in and he goes, I've lit a candle.
Oh, that's right.
I'm keeping it intimate. I want to make sure that everybody's just tuned in to me. So, no, I love it. I love it.
Derek's
sorry,
very
Steven,
pointed, but yeah. Derek's very pointed, but I'm really, really excited about this guest. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Derek. He has a hell of a story. Puts my story to shame. He is a true student of the game, and every conversation I ever have with Derek, I leave with immense ideas. He really spawns me in my creativity, and I'm excited for him to share his story. I know he hasn't shared it too often, so it's a gift for our audience today on this episode.
Well, I love it. Today's pre-trip is brought to you by Movified Masterminds, where movers build discipline before scale. We bring it up. If you are interested and you don't want to sit idle in your business and you want to have a peer group that you can heavily rely on, where it's moderated, it has each month different topics, this is for you. If you're getting value from Movified Wednesdays, subscribe to the show, please. Leave us a review. And also join Movified Nation newsletter.
I think this is where there's a big ding and somebody has the subscribe button that pops up on the screen. So
I think so. It comes up like
we'll see if it pops up. Let us know if we need to work on that.
Yeah, for sure.
But subscribe.
For sure. Listen, everybody, it is day 56. If you're following along in the moving mindset, we like to devote just before on Wednesdays what that day means to all of you, and especially if you're following along on the book, The Moving Mindset. It's available on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. And if you see me at any kind of event, like the upcoming MSC event in Nashville, then please... find me. I'll definitely have a copy of the book. And before this episode comes out with Derek, you're going to probably notice that me and Stephen are going to be at the Moving Legends Retreat, which is in Orlando, Florida, February 26th to the 28th. So that's also exciting too. We'll have some books there. Today,
Mark's speaking at that event.
Speaking.
It's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be good.
It's going to be interesting. It's like a flip of the script.
Is that Movistics?
No, Move It Pro.
Move It Pro, okay.
Yeah, it's Jason over there. His team throws a great event. I mean, they are very hosting. Yeah, Derek,
we were
it's
with
really
Move
cool.
It Pro for 8 years.
Oh, nice. You're very familiar with the product. But their event is they get a mansion, bowling alley, basketball court, gym, sauna, the whole works, and put a bunch of movers in there and have some topics to speak. So you're familiar with it.
They were good software, and they had good service and support. I liked being with Move It Pro. They were good.
They're nice guys.
I love it.
So yeah,
day 56. God is in the details. Matthew 10:30. The very hairs on your head are all numbered. What does that actually mean? If God counts the hairs on your head, he cares about the details of your business as well too. So nothing is too small for him, which as business owners, nothing should be too small for us. And I know I fall short at times on this as well too. You know, are we following the exact route of what a truck takes? The tone of our next conversation, the staffing you needed this month, the customers who needed peace, the equipment you must replace, the solutions you haven't found yet. Everything is in the detail. And I love it because this is such a perfect segue into when we talk with Derek today about everything is in the detail when you're dealing with high-end clients, when you're dealing with your warehouse, when you're dealing with your guys. You know, are they in uniform? Are their shirts tucked in? Are they looking like scrubs? Are they showing up in jogging pants? Right? So for me, my big thing to everybody here is bring one specific detail to God today, right? And something you would actually normally handle alone. And let's see how that works out for you. And then see which detail did I assume in his care that, you know, maybe I wasn't caring about as much today. So that's kind of that's what's kind of it. Thank you guys for all kind of tuning in on that part. But I really kind of want to get into Derek because Mr. Greene has quite the story. Derek, obviously, you know, you've been doing this for quite some time. I want to kind of go right back, like when you started. Can you give me a little bit of the history for those that have never met you, don't know you anywhere, think that you maybe are John Hamilton's secret cousin from Brooks Moving and Storage?
Uglier version, yeah. I can see that.
That's right. Can you kind of go deep into, Steven, take it away.
So Quentin Tarantino, you know I like the Quentin Tarantino style. What's your current status, Derek? What is your revenue? How many trucks you got on the road?
Okay, so our moving business, we have 15 trucks. We've got 28 movers as of today. We've got 8 admin, we got 1 estimator, 1 business developer, myself, and then we've got a kind of real small VA marketing.
Woo woo! Sorry.
And we're talking to Ready Rolls, I should say that.
Nice.
That's actually true. We're talking to them right now about growing that team. So our moving business did a 4.7 last year, and our interior design business did 1.3 last year. And my one
28
thing
guys.
is storage. Yeah, my one thing is storage. We bill about $1 million a year in storage at Get Your Move On. And last year at Plush, we were just shy of 700,000. So we're at almost 1.7 million in storage.
Before we ever started using a moving CRM, someone asked me, could you 10x what you're doing right now with the current systems and processes you have in place? And I said no. And so he was like, well, then you need to just pull the trigger on the software. And then I saw Smart Moving and it was game over.
Austin joined thousands of moving owners on Smart Moving in 2021. Since then, he's more than doubled his business.
And I always compare Smart Moving to Apple products. It's just so simple, so easy to use, and that's really what's allowed my team to scale and now have 2 branches. And last year we scaled Central Coast Moving over 50% growth.
If you're ready to turn your moving company into a machine that drives profit, not chaos, try Smart Moving.
Hey everyone, Matty Mailers here, the guy who pioneered handwritten letters for the moving industry. Why? Because my competition at my moving company was using the same stock postcards as me, and my mailing company didn't care. So I created a better way. Here's some mind-blowing results in July. Miracle Movers Utah closed $93,000 using our handwritten letter strategy. With our campaigns, you can forget about the guessing games. You get a trackable phone number, daily photo proof, an incredible design team, and I'm also included. all letters stop at me for approval before they ever leave our facility. Right now, Movified listeners get 1,000 golden tickets stuffed in our genuine handwritten letters completely free. Plus, I'm going to throw in bulk realtor data for up to 5 counties. What are you waiting for? Moving Letters AI. Stop competing, start dominating.
What percentage of revenue are you spending on marketing?
Well, it's a little zero online, zero print ads, but the business developer role, she probably makes, including her bonuses, of maybe 95 to 100 grand a year. Full-time business development lady that's been with us for 10 years. And then I do quite a bit of relationship building myself and business development myself. And my partner, who we share a daughter, and she handles client liaison and business development for Plush. So that is about $1 million in salary right there.
Quentin Tarantino, though, Mark, I wanted to point out this is a unicorn we're talking to today.
No, I love it, and if you, everybody knows if you put me and Steve into a room, we can't follow proper topics and questions because now I'm going to kind of go right off on a tangent.
I'll let you go for a while.
There's
I'll
so
give
many.
you the origin story because that was what I think you were driving at there.
I'm going to get to the origin story now because now I'm ready. I'm flipping over. The essence of business development, right? I always love this title. Someone comes in and goes, look, like I have lots of leads. I know how to get lots of clients. You go, oh, great. Like I'm looking for a business development role. What does that encompass? You've hired this girl in the office. She's out there trying to get business, and your daughter's calling for you.
Yeah, come here. Come jump on here real quick.
That could be any three of us. That could be any three. It's like, which one?
I know. I'm on a podcast, honey. I'll explain it if you come down here. I'll explain business development and in the way I look at it, and I do think it should be a college degree program. But it's networking, and I tried being come here, sweetheart. I'm on a call with these two gentlemen right here.
We got Derek's Y live.
Steven. This is my Y. This is my little Y. This is Mielle, Mielle. She's way better looking than her daddy.
We had to get you on because this is the Valentine episode, so we had to see Derek's Valentine. Right. So thanks for coming.
Here too.
Okay. I got to do this because we're live, sweetheart.
Daddy's working.
We got all the Valentines coming.
I'll be done in 40 minutes, and we can go look at the horses. Come on.
I need your
Love you. Here, talk about business development. Here's the real extraordinaire. This is Ariana.
Hey, Ariana, how you doing? This is the Valentine's Day episode, so we're glad you got to stop on.
Okay, I need your help.
Bye.
Well, you're needed. You're needed in the other room.
This is how you throw your family away.
She wants to
Get out of here.
I know. Welcome to our lives.
What I consider it is my clients are agents, real estate agents. And I have defined those through my point system and top graded them and researched them and gone to great lengths to meet all of these high-end agents because, it's the 90-10 rule, right? 10% of real estate agents, there's 40,000 of them in Arizona. 10% of them are doing probably 90% of the work. And then as you tier up into $1 million listings, 5 million plus, it gets even more segmented into that 90-10 rule as you go up. And there's one lady, for instance, that she sells pretty much 90% of the homes over $15 million. She's just extraordinary in that way. So, 15 years ago, I had a business coach. My uncle had worked for me for 5 years. I was newly sober. He was also newly sober. And he came and taught me the van line side of the business. And he was also a B&I guy. He would go to B&Is and it generated work. And I think it's the first step for network marketing and business development is that's where you end up, is in a BNI meeting. But what I found is over time that you go to a BNI and there's one realtor, one mortgage guy in there, and then 30 other people that are not exactly direct fits. But I go to rooms where everybody in the room is suited and is selling $5 million homes, and there's 35 of them and one mover. And the reason only one mover can show up there is because only one mover can continue to show up there, because we don't fuck our clients. We never fail. We always perform. And then a large part of my job is covering up problems and showering issues that happen in big moves and little moves with customer service, from a Nordstrom approach to customer service. And that book that I like is Raving Fans. I remember that one. I love that book. I'd get talking, so if you start me, it's hard to end.
Yeah, no,
so
go ahead.
feel
Keep
free to
going on that. Keep going on that. You were
get me
about
back
finished.
on track. The agent is my client, and making sure their client comes back to them with nothing but good things to say to me is a job. It is a 10 to 15% of our administrative resources to make sure that during the move and after the move, the thing goes off swimmingly. And it costs money to do that. We have an approach to our insurance that we have valuation on every single job we sell, and we are exposed to a lot of liability. But we are masters at repairing things. We're masters at solving the pain after the move with very, very good customer service. And that allows me to continue to go back into those rooms with all those agents that have been referring me for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and they still like me. And they're not giving me stink eye. And so that is a very challenging part long-term of business development, is if you hide behind 60 cents per pound, you will never be able to work for real estate agents, because they don't give a shit. And you
They
have
don't
that
understand it.
conversation with
They want
them.
you to take care of them. I understand that.
And quite frankly, I don't
Yeah.
understand how to have that conversation. Well, you're only getting 60 cents a pound. Well, fucking Joe Schmo over here is charging me $600 for the same move, and he's giving me 60 cents a pound. Why are you any good?
Yeah. Why take care of that? Who were you, Derek, before you started moving, and how did you get into it?
I started as a delivery man. So I was a furniture delivery
Like
man for
furniture. I didn't know about pizza or what. I was a pizza man. I don't know if we're.
furniture delivery was pretty much my first job out of high school. And I also had a pretty hefty narcotics problem. And these weren't like, this wasn't weed and booze. This was whatever kind of hard drug. When I was 20, I smoked meth, and I smoked meth every day for 3 years. When I was 17, I tried cocaine, and I was the head motherfucker cocaine dealer at McClintock High School's football team. And then I got on the Oxycontin, and then it really just burned my life to the ground. But during that time, I had this 6-week window of sobriety, because I started this little delivery service, and I knew I had to clean up my shit. And that was 6-week window in the middle of 10 years of drug abuse that I was able to focus and stay sober to get the thing off the ground. I borrowed $900 from my mom, $100 less than Steven started with, I will say. I borrowed $900 from my mom to do my first route to California, and it was out-of-state delivery. And then I did that for 4 months. I was on the road for 4 months delivering high-end furniture to, customers that were all over the country, because we have a lot of really nice furniture stores in Scottsdale. People come here for Super Bowl. They come here for Waste Management Open. They maybe have homes in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and Shawnee, Kansas, and Pacific Northwest, and they need that furniture delivered there. And this guy that I worked for had this great little niche that he would do these deliveries for $800 to $1,200, which was, as you know, if you want to take one piece across the country, pad wrap service, in-home delivery, that's a niche. And he had it nailed. And so I worked for him for 4 months. My girlfriend at the time got pregnant. I was like, "Oh, fuck." And I knew I had to get off the road, so I started walking to some consignment stores, doing business development. I didn't know that, and a couple people said, "Hey, you could do our deliveries for $75." So I picked up a consignment account and a new furniture store that was doing $75 deliveries, and I remember, if I can get 5 $75 deliveries, pay Pablo $150, I'm rich. It really felt like I was gonna be rich in 2005 at that. And then I just, what I try to do is always make sure every customer was happy, communicated really well, did everything I said I was gonna do, and never turned down any work. I didn't wanna turn down any work, so I just every time the phone rang a little bit more, I tried to get a little bit more trucks, a little bit more men, and then it just has grown for 21 years that way.
So were you still like, who were you when you started? Did that deter you from the lifestyle you had before? So like when
No.
after you got started, was
So
that
that
North Star
6-week
enough to
window,
say, "Hey, that's my obsession"? Yeah.
nope, that obsession returned. After that 6 weeks, or after those 4 months of being on the road, where I knew I had to keep my shit together because uh, I didn't wanna drive off the turnpike in Pennsylvania and kill myself. I came back home, I started doing it locally, and then I discovered OxyContin. It started with Percocet and Vicodin. Take a Vicodin in the morning, back felt great. Love running up and down the ramp. And then, 4 years later, I'm snorting probably $500 a day of that stuff. And it was a jet fuel at the early time for my business. I was working 80 hours a week, 7 days a week on the
Sure,
truck,
I bet you were.
plus QuickBooks, plus everything else. And that's 4 years later, probably had 3 trucks, had a 1,600 square foot warehouse, maybe 9 movers at the time, and I could not put my pants on in the morning if I didn't snort a line of OxyContin, and I had not breathed the sober breath for 5 years. And it did solve my alcohol problem, because if I had a Budweiser the night before, in the morning, I would projectile vomit into my dashboard of my Dodge 3500. And you do that a couple times and you're like, "You know what? The opiate high is so pure, it just does not need any weed or alcohol to assist it."
Unbelievable.
What was the point that you had to curb it?
I got into this, they had this 35 under 35 thing, which was a little magazine that our local newspaper does, and
You only wish you could get into that now.
yeah, exactly. So I got into that, and then because of that, they used those 35 under 35 as the pool to start this program called Accelerator, which was a farm system for entrepreneurs organization. They do have a Vancouver chapter. I've actually been to Vancouver because you guys are you're in our region, Arizona, Vancouver, San Francisco, Denver, Boise, Seattle, Portland, San Diego, and LA. So anyway, I got into that group, and I get into this room of 20 young entrepreneurs that are all 250K. That's the threshold, and then they're trying to push you to $1 million. And I smell like cigarettes. I got Dickies on. I'm losing $2,000 worth of jobs because I gotta put my phone away for 8 hours every quarter. And we had monthly accountability meetings, and I'm still addicted to OxyContin. And so the moment that I realized I had to stop was, we had this, they held the 1-day workshops at school, at Thunderbird School of Global Management. And I'm out there, and it's 10:15, I'm out of pills, and I'm getting sick. I'm getting dope sick. And this is 2.5, 3 years now of just trying to stay not sick. And I am sweating, and my stomach is bubble guts, and I have to leave this meeting because I gotta go. I had hired my drug dealer to work at Get Your Move On, so he would be close to me and I knew where he would be all day, right? Because it was so hard getting 5 or 6 of those Oxycontin 80s. It was just, at that time, like, there was no fentanyl, and then my habit was so high, and I guess I had some red line. I wasn't gonna shoot heroin in my veins yet, right? And so I had to go find him, and I had to leave, and I said to myself, you know, and I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old with a woman whose laughter was like nails on a chalkboard. So I just like I'm in a nightmare. Like, I don't even know how I got there. It's like, what the fuck's going on? So I left there and I plotted a plan to train this kid Donovan that worked for me. He was just smart enough that he could work my laptop. I used a day planner to have all the trucks. I had a day planner for each truck and the routes and we were doing moving at that point now. And I trained him how to use my Crackberry. I delegated and I said, I'm gonna go home and quit again for like the umpteenth time. Cause I had tried to quit a number of times. Every bag of pills I bought for 5 years was the last bag of pills. I believe that. And every single Monday for 4 years in a row was definitely the Monday I was quitting. I mean, that is the insanity that someone that is in an addiction. They really believe they're just like the guy in the corner holding a sign. He thinks he's like just one lucky break away from just having it all together. He really believes that. And you're really thinking 2 to 6 hours. Your life is 2 to 6 hours at a time, just from one high to the next time I can not be sick. And so I trained this kid Donovan and I went home and I slept in the tent in the backyard and I slept in the kitchen and I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep for 10 days. And there was one day where I was like, am I going to need to go to a mental institution or am I going to blow my head off? Because this screaming, I wasn't suicidal, but what was going on in my head was so bad that I was like, I could see what's going on in someone's brain when they pull a trigger and eat a gun. And that was a scary thought. And by the 10th day, I still had a plan. My plan was I got to get off opiates. So I am doing an 8-ball of cocaine and then going to play golf because I still have like some business things I got to do. But I'm drinking cases of Heinekens. I'm smoking blunts. I'm trying Xanax for the first time. I think I did some mushrooms. Nothing would fill that hole in my chest that was the opiate withdrawal. I could not get out of those withdrawals. And by the 10th day, I ended up somehow on my friend's back patio who had been sober like 4 or 5 years. And I hadn't really talked to him except when I was like running home from the bar after knocking someone out, spun out for 3 days. Like I'd only call him and he'd be like, try to stay sober tomorrow and come to a meeting. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it just didn't make any sense. But I was like beaten down. I'm crying. Don't know what to do. I can't stop. But I also have these 2 kids that I love and this business that has a real shot at changing my life from a $12 an hour drug addict. But I got to get this monkey off my back. And he was like, well, let's go to a meeting. I'm like, fuck your meetings, dude. What is that going to do? But he tricked me. He's like, let's go get a burrito. We went and got a burrito. Then he basically drove me to the meeting. I pull into the meeting, bunch of nice cars in the parking lot, a bunch of Mercedes Benz and
Wait a minute, this isn't a burrito.
Yeah. This ain't Baskin Robbins.
yeah, there's a bunch of young guys in their 20s and 30s. They're all laughing, having a good time, talking shit. And I'm sitting in this meeting and this thought occurs to me. Well, I guess I'm going to never have to smoke weed again, never get to do coke, never smoke meth, never do Oxycontin, never drink Heinekens, never take shrooms, never eat Zen bars anymore. I got to give it all up. It just was like, and then this thought was like, I am never going to be dope sick again. And that mantra like started to like And I just kept going to those meetings, and I got a sponsor. And about 30 days in, I started feeling like, hey, I wonder what's going on over at Get Your Move On, you know? And I called Donovan. I said, hey, we come back Monday. How's it going? And he's like, we made it. And I was like, unbelievable. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Then, I just stayed sober from that point on.
Team supported you.
Yeah, and I got cross addicted to some other things over the years, and I did smoke weed for a year, and I got like 15 months now, but that then I really started like looking at this thing like a business, and I was able to really leverage all those tools I learned in Accelerator. In 2.5 years, we got to $1 million, and then I got into EO, and then it was just a slow crawl. There's been no big boom. It's just been every year we do a little bit more. I've had very difficult challenges in my business. In 2022, we had a workplace fatality. It was horrible from a human perspective. I had to attend a funeral of a 24-year-old kid that had worked for me for a year and a half. He had 2 brothers that worked for me. I had to hug his mother because my stupid moving business killed him. Like, that's not really what happened, but he lost his life because of a move. And we had 85, 90% is what the auditor had told me. We were in an audit from the DOT. That was after 3 years of me really stepping away from the business because I was really burnt and I was traveling. It was COVID. I was the CMO. COVID did all of my work for me, So I met this beautiful woman and we traveled the world and had a great life. And then one day the phone rings and this kid's dead. And my insurance went from $300,000 a year to $650,000 a year over like 12 months. And I shut down my out-of-state division for the fourth quarter of 2022, which was $400,000 in cash that burned. And then I have been working for premiums for the last 3 years. So nothing has been easy at any time, but Steve's had some similar kind of experiences with insurance. And so that's kind of the origin story. 8 years ago, we launched Plush, and I can get into that when you want to talk about.
If you're considering Snowball, just do it.
Snowball creates done-for-you referral programs for moving companies so you can turn happy customers into new revenue without lifting a finger. And the results speak for themselves.
In less than a year, we've collected over 2,000 referrals.
We generated over $200,000 of revenue that cost about $5,000 to do it.
I believe we have 4 or 5 the very first day.
The companies winning with Snowball are the ones that already care about their customers. We just help turn that into new business through human outreach and customer nurturing.
Snowball is part of the arsenal of tools that I recommend to my clients because it works.
Being found on the second page of Google is literally like having a billboard in the middle of the desert. Your mama ain't gonna see it. No one's gonna see it. You're on the second page of Google, no one's gonna call, no one's gonna book. Here is the deal. If your business is not ranking on the top of Google, that means your competitors are going to be stealing your customers every single day. So at Rotate Digital, we don't play any guessing games. We use data-driven SEO strategies to make sure Google finds you first so that these Google searches turn into your customers, not your competitors' customers. How do we do it? We do it through AI-driven keyword optimization, exclusive blog networks, backlinking strategies, and honestly, the secret stuff, the proprietary lead attribution software. So what do you get as a result? You get not only good marketing, but now you get clarity into what is bringing you more revenue. So if that's something you want to do, you want to make sure your leads find you and not your competition, go ahead and go to rotatedigital.com, schedule a call, and we'll help you take your business to the top of Google.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As I told you, Mark, this is going to be Derek is an open book and a student of the game. This is really excited. Thank you for sharing, Derek. That's really, vulnerable, but I think very impactful for a lot of our listeners that
And let me tell
knowing
you,
how
we
hard this
all
industry
know
is.
the moving business, and we all know the moving business is impacted by, justice impacted people and drug addiction impacted people, because this is a second chance job. You don't get on a moving truck unless you've made some really bad mistakes in your life, have some kind of monkey on your back, or some level of mental illness where you would think this would be a great career as a mover. And those are my guys. Those are my people, right?
When I reflect back on like this process, there's a lot of people that might hear your story and go, well, do you ever look back and think, man, if I wasn't in that situation, I could have probably, skyrocketed my business to a whole different level. But that's not the story. That's not really the case, because we have to kind of learn from our life lessons, learn from that change, and then like move forward. What do you find? What habits did you replace instead of the chaos?
Well, I worked a lot. I got intensely addicted to the business. I see owning a business like a motorcycle mechanic that has the Zen of motorcycle mechanicry. That's a book, I think. I get up on Monday morning and go tool around on my hobby, right? And so it's really just such a joy and pleasure, and I'm so grateful that my 9 to 5 is tooling around on my motorcycle, trying to get it to go a little faster, trying to get it to burn a little less oil, trying to keep the tires, the perfect PSI. I mean, that's really what we get to do when we own our business, regardless of what the widget is. And, if you're successful, but I want to go back a bit, because there are listeners that you have today that can call me if they're struggling, because moving company owners, I guarantee you, are oftentimes movers that have some drive in them, that but they still have that monkey on their back, and they're probably suffering. They can call me 602-820-3559. You can call me. I'm gonna tell you, go to a meeting. Unfortunately, that's the only way I know how to get sober, because I had tried every single other thing. And when you get to that point, you're ready. So I don't want to like miss that opportunity to be
What
of
about on
service. But
what about on a DM? What how can they DM you? On Facebook
Derek
or
M. Greene is my Instagram. We have really shitty social medias, but Derek,
it's pretty good.
Derek M. Greene with an E at the end. That's
I'll
my
say I
personal
watched your
Instagram.
stuff, Derek, before we met each other. I was watching your socials. You're not so bad at all. I learned quite a bit
Derek,
off yours.
when I think of the time of COVID and then afterwards, and watching this trajectory of your insurance skyrocket, all these unexpected certainties happen within your business. As the business is trying to grow, a lot of people are either going to go two ways, going, man, like I can't afford this. I'm going to have to pivot. I might have to close down. I'm going to have to start selling some trucks to cover this bill, that bill. And then the other pivot is going, okay, I need to like really lock down. I'm going to step it up with like more marketing, more advertisement. We got to rebuild our business, because now I have all this extra expenses to pay for insurance costs and coverages. So at what point, like, during this time period when we hear, hey, listen, you know what, like I built my business, I barely spent any money on marketing, advertising, I wasn't out there getting PPC leads and spending tons of stuff on I got to get on the Google search engines and everything. How are you doing this so organically, where you're like, look, I kept that growth going and I didn't fret over these obstacles?
Well, there was a hangover, right? So I was pinched between this rising insurance cost. I had a leadership team, a GM that had been with me for 8 years, a COO that had been with me for 5. They were a married couple. They were very, very good at running the business from a profit and loss statement, which had allowed me to step away for 3 years. And the day after the kid was killed, I showed up at the office. I had been going to the office twice a week for 2 hours, having leadership meetings, and then I was doing my CMO stuff and making sure the funnel was full up to that point. Well, our funnel did not really dry up because the hangover, the COVID hangover, really hit that $600,000 to $1 million home. You have everyone that's going to move in 10 years getting a 3%, 3.5% interest rate. Those houses just stopped moving. And that, I think, while it wasn't our it wasn't our bread and butter, it was definitely playing a supporting role. And so re-engagement was the number one thing. I show up at the office at 5 a.m. for the rest of that year, right? And I start to reacquaint myself with my middle management crew that I had hired 5-10 years before that were still like kind of suffering under a regime they didn't really love. And you know, Carmen and Jeff, for all of their strengths, they were also like, we got this, Derek. You don't need to help. This is what you pay us, you know, $450,000 a year for between the two of them, including their bonuses. And you know, what I learned in getting to know the frontline guys, my middle management team, reacquainting myself with all this, seeing how the warehouse was disorganized, just seeing a lot of things. And at first, the first month or two was really just me trying to understand my business. You know, we had stood up our out-of-state division and the DOT department, and I was never interested in knowing how that worked. We stood up an HR department. I had no clue what that was. I didn't have any passwords or usernames to any of the myriad administrative duties. I had a CFO and a bookkeeping team that had been handling the bookkeeping. So I really was lost, and I didn't have any authority in the business. And they're like, what's he doing here? Right? So by October, I loved Carmen. She was a great employee. She really did. She put her heart into that business and ran it like she owned it, which is what you want. But they had created a culture where the frontline employees and the office were kind of diametrically opposed to one another, like this. Oh, that's the office's fault. Oh, that's the mover's fault. And there was no teamwork. And so the problem we had with the DOT was we were having an infraction for marijuana, for instance. That guy comes back, and he would be busted 2 months later with weed again out on a DOT inspection, and there was no accountability. So the accountability loop, which was described to me by this DOT officer who was shutting us down, right? For 8 hours, we got shut down, which I learned is not just your out-of-state division. It's every one of your trucks and every one of your drivers cannot leave the yard, right? So at one point, I thought I was going to be a month from, I found this out Thanksgiving weekend of 2022, that we were going to probably shut down the day after Thanksgiving holiday until Christmas. And I had to figure out a way to stand up a DOT in my girlfriend's name and create these contracts with our drivers, and we rented 9 Penske trucks. That was a whole story in of itself. We ended up being, when we got shut down at 8:30 that same morning, we get a email that said, we've read your 400-page response to our basically taking you from satisfactory to unsatisfactory. And Stephen probably understands this a little bit better because it's probably specific to the country you're in. But now you're reinstated satisfactory. So we were only shut down for 8 hours. But so I only had to run that little
stressful 8 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have to contract any jobs out. Everybody worked. We had it was a zoo. But prior to that, I
Been there.
realized that Carmen had to go. So I fired Carmen October 31st. And then I fired Jeff December 2nd, because culturally, no matter what those two people said, these guys that were driving the trucks did not respect their authority and would always basically sabotage whatever they were doing. So it was really, really toxic cultural company.
So no matter the fact that these guys knew what to do, they were running your company going, Derek, hey, don't worry about it. We got it. Things are functionally, day by day, everything's being managed.
And the P&L looked good.
And the P&L looked good. But in reality, yeah, well, of course, sure. I mean, 2021, 2022 is fantastic years. But at the end of the day, there's this cultural shift where no one's giving them the respect. They haven't earned the respect, and they almost need Mr. Greene, the enforcer, coming in there to kind of go, all right, let's
Mr. Greene, the enforcer, more of Mr. Greene, the manipulator. I had been recruiting someone from beginning of October. I had a friend in AA who is now my GM, and he had been sober at the time, maybe like 10 years, and I had been going to the same meeting with him for 4, and he worked in corporate mergers and acquisitions. He had his old khaki pants and button-up shirt, and then all his HA tattoos. Right. So he was at Hells Angels for 13 years. Prior to that, he was 5 years a Marine. So I had been recruiting him, and we had been having these kind of back channel communications. He had come down and met my middle management team, and at like 5 a.m. before Carmen and Jeff came in. And I introduced Wilk to these guys, and I say, hey, get to know my middle managers, and let's, because I had been starting to put all of Carmen and Jeff's tasks on the board. And when I put Carmen's tasks on the board, we were because she was like, she would bottleneck all of the control of the business into her, right? And when I put her list of tasks, which was a huge whiteboard, everyone was like, I could take that. I could take that. I saw a bunch of stuff I could take because now I'm back engaged. So that one, her list was easy. Jeff's list, none of us knew what the fuck any of those jobs were. Like, we had to Google some of them. So Wilk could do all those jobs, right? And then the first thing he asked at the first meeting with these guys, and it was out of left field, I just never had thought. He goes, how important is safety to this company? And I was like, that's the first question? Well, and then it was like obvious, someone just died, right? Insurance has gone from $300,000 to $650,000. That's the boot on our neck collectively. And, he was like a little skeptical, but he was so sick of corporate that he was like, hey, this might be fun. And then so December, we didn't have any adults in the room. It was me, my middle management team, a pretty damn good December somehow. And we got through it, and he started January 2nd of 2023. Yeah, because he's been there 3 years. And then we just rebuilt the whole company over the last 3 years. And there's maybe 2 frontline movers still there. And our, claims have gone from $225,000 a year to $65,000 a year. $225,000 was keeping my reputation. Now it only costs me $65,000 a year in claims. So we rebuilt the company, and this year we got good news. Our insurance went down $130,000.
Great news. Great news. I think I can, when Derek told me that, I think I felt it for him. I know how long of a battle that was.
There are 3 guys. I will say there are 3 guys with herniated discs buried out in the desert somewhere, but they were living in one of my halfway houses, and I don't know if anyone's missing them.
I want to say people that say they have no control over their DOT and just, gosh, I'm getting shut down and I don't know, I can't do anything about it, it's just movers. You are so wrong. There's 2 million companies with motor carrier numbers that are doing something better than you. They can figure out how to
Yeah, and
manage
what
it,
I
guys. It's just priority.
and there's third parties that will do it and put it in place for you. We didn't end up using that. One of the things about Wilk was he had 20 DOT audits under his belt when he came to me, which was like one of the main reasons why I had identified him. Plus, we become great friends. We're going to ski with John Watson and Whistler in March. I don't know.
Shout out to
Is that
John,
far
another
from you, Mike?
Canadian.
Oh yeah, that's right. Johnny messaged me too. He's coming out. Yeah, that's right. So I might be joining you guys.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Wow.
My girlfriend's coming, or Wilk and
Yeah,
his
it's like
girlfriend are coming.
it's that's right. That's right. John gave me a call. Oh shit! I guess it was around Christmas time. Whenever you guys were trying to plan that.
How has
like, hey, we're coming up to
pay-per-click?
Whistler.
How has pay-per-click never been? I'm sorry. We'll have a bunch of Movified listeners if y'all keep going and saying where you're going. You'll be doing on a slope doing a 5X follow-up course. But like, I want to ask, because this is something that's just so special to me. How have you avoided the lady in the red dress and spending money on pay-per-click?
So I think I spent in probably 2005, 6, 7. For some reason, I got number one Tempe and Scottsdale movers organically from the website that my dad had built me for $500. I have no idea why. It was like cocaine, right? But then, of course, it changed. And then I tried SEO or pay-per-click and SEO, and I think back then I spent $7,000 one month, and I just talked to so many idiots that were like, I'm moving. How much is it going to be? Don't call my number anymore. That's a stupid question. You know what I mean? But that's what a Google SEO click sounds like. I'm moving. How much is it going to cost me? Do you have any specials? Like, and Yelp customers, I just realized that I wasn't going to get rich off $800 moves. I wasn't going to get rich off $1,200 moves. I had, I didn't want to have 300 customers a month to do 300 grand. I knew that was just administratively suicide. I wanted to do 30 moves for $300,000 a month, right? And so my uncle came. He worked in the company for 5 years. We burned down a couple of trucks together, and he started getting high again, and I gave him the boot, right? And then I go to my business coach, who's been my CFO also for 15 years, Bart Dunn, shout out. This is like probably the most critical person in my life, business-wise.
Shout out to Bart.
I said, well, so what do I do? And he's like, you got to be the sales guy. I'm like, sales guys are slimy. Sales guys are greasy. I don't want to do sales. I don't want to go suck a bunch of dicks and try to get customers to like me. And
boy, did that change.
Boy, did it change. Dude, I'll suck a lot of dicks now because I know they get me on a Whistler slope, right? They get me on a Whistler slope. But he was like, you got to do business development. And I'm like, well, what the fuck's that? And he's like, tell me something you really want. And I said, I would love to have a TV that didn't buzz. Because at the time I had this TV, pre-real flat screens. I had this like kind of, I don't remember what they were called. It was like this thick, but it would buzz when I would turn it on. And he's like, what if I told you, if you do what I tell you, you could buy any TV you wanted? I said, man, that sounds pretty good. What do I got to do? He goes, you got to get 40 points a week. And I said, what's the point? He says, it's a cold call. It's a walk-in. And I said, that sounds kind of sucky. So he's like, well, who am I going to call? He's like, well, let's look. And so we pulled up my QuickBooks, and I had the, referral classes. And I had this realtor named Jan Cabani. Shout out to Jan Cabani. I had a senior community. I had a high-rise building right? That these organically were in my mix. I had an interior designer and I had an apartment building. He said, all right, there's your buckets. Now you've got a little avatar. You've got this agent that you need to recreate a bunch of these agents. You've got these high rise that you got to create relationships with these high rise. You got senior communities. So you got your 5 buckets, right? So then he said, now you need to go
Slow those down. So what were those 5? What were those 5 again?
agent, senior community, designer, I had a contractor, right, for a storage renovation and apartment building, right? So then I just made a list. We're in Phoenix. There's like 20 luxury high-rise condos that have a general manager, concierge, bellman type of product. That agent was a specific avatar of agent. She might have 50 transactions a year, but her average sale was 1.5 million. But all of these represented on my QuickBooks $25,000 worth of revenue year after year from these 5 sources. Now you go out and make a list, 25 for each, right? So I started with senior living because it was it was easy. These were born marketing coordinators for a senior living home. They had nothing going on. They weren't too busy, and they would let me come in and chat with them, and I'd bring them cookies, right? So I had cookies, and I would drop off the cookies, and I would give them my card, and so you got a point for cold calling, and I was scared of using the phone, but for some reason I was like less afraid of walking in. So I think if I could get 40 points 5 consecutive weeks, here's how the system works. 1 point cold call, 1 point walk in, 3 points if you get the decision maker to sit down with you, whether it's in their office or at coffee. Yep. You would get, then you had these 10-point bucks. So you top graded the buildings, you top graded the agents on those lists of 25, top graded those contractors, those designers, and you said, if I could touch hands with this person, you get 10 points. Okay. And obviously you got to do everything else that goes along with it. When you can't touch their hand, run away and never call them again. But it was just like, they're hard to get to, right? You got to really work at getting a 10-point buck. So it took me like 3 or 4 months. I would have 37 points on a Friday and I'd be like, I'm fucking done. I'm burnt, right? And so it took me like about 4 months, and then I bought that TV because I made it 5 weeks
You
in a row,
finally got
40
it.
points a week.
And your business started to grow.
What is it? Well, I just replaced Roger as my sales guy. Roger took us from 500,000 to $1 million, doing very like spaghetti to the wall networking, going to a lot of BNI groups, late tip, leads groups, yada yada. This was targeted, like finite targets, names, addresses, right? So then for about 3 years, I got to the point where I could get 100 points a week. And that's all and remember, I was running the whole business. So I had to figure out how to fit this 40-hour a week business development role and push all the other things I was doing off onto other people. So I really had to delegate. And I've been, quite frankly, I suck at everything I do. So delegation is easy because every time I give something away, it gets done much better than me. Right?
Hey,
But
I want to add one thing for people keeping score. Derek taught me this too. And so I've studied it. So I want to sharpen his toolkit. 0.5 point for a cold email, and then 5 points for a where you collected biz cards at an event.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. You get a 0.5 point because about the bitchest thing you can do is send an email, a cold email, right?
It's what everybody's doing.
Right. So cold email was a 0.5 point, and the networking events, you did get 5 points, but and then you got an extra point for collecting a card, not
Oh,
giving
that's
one
right.
out.
That's right.
Right. So thanks for pulling that up. And we did have a little document which I shared with hundreds of people over the years, because this was the thing that changed my life. It empowered me to never be in fear again. Because even if I fail with my moving company, I'll pick a better business next time, I swear to God. Something without trucks and movers. But if I fail, I know I can just get work, no matter what I'm selling, because I can be disciplined, do 100 points. So I did that for 3 years. Then I hired a lady, and she was she was a rich kid, all grown up. She was probably 55. Wendy, I love you. She's a absolute business development maven. She was already connected to the design world, to the real estate world. I think she slept with every commercial realtor in town at one point in the 2000s when she got divorced and was going to Old Town. But she's just remarkable. She went to the Catholic
Shout out to
school.
Wendy.
Shout out to Wendy. Funny story about Wendy. This is great. We use Slack at work, and she's a boomer. She's 65 now. But funny thing, guy in my AA group has been banging her for some time. I won't say his name, but she'll never listen to this.
No.
But
Just
the funny
movers.
thing is, she posted on Slack a picture of her face, which she does a lot. I don't know. It's her thing. She posts pictures of her face all over her Facebook, everywhere. She posted to Slack, but when you clicked on it, it brought up the thumbnails along the bottom, and one of her full nudes was in there. And she posted it to the general Slack group with all the movers on it. It was hilarious. I let it sit there for like an hour so everybody could see it, and then I deleted it. But
double trouble.
Okay, so anyway, she's already networked. She already knows all these people. She went to high school. She went to Catholic high school with all these rich people. She had a flower business for like 15 years in town and did all the super rich weddings. So I didn't even need to put her. I tried to put her on the point system, but she was such a hardworking unicorn. She just lived, breathed business development every day. So now we've both been doing it now she's been with me for 10. And now Ariana, she's been doing it without the nudes. She's been doing it for the last about 2.5 years. And she's better than both of me and Wendy's combined. Because she's so beautiful. She's so likable. She's just so vibrant, honest, young, authentic. She's just a miracle. So now, plus
They used to say that about Stephen Reed, and then it kind of went downhill.
You didn't see him speak at the last meeting. I was about to, to do their privately.
You were about to make a sale. He was about to make a sale.
Yes, he was about to make a sale.
Listen, we're at a point, Derek. We're at a point right now where it is on Wednesdays. It is Dolly Dash.
We got a Dolly Dash.
We got a couple fast-hitting questions. You got 30 seconds to answer them. Don't have to draw them out, just like I won't draw out these questions.
And also,
are
Mark,
you ready?
Mark, you have 30 seconds to ask them.
I know. I'm doing my best. I'll do my best. Derek, one habit that recovery gave you as a leader.
I look at everybody the same, whether you're an attorney, some rich client, or some guy that just came off the bus. I'm going to recognize that as a human being, and I'm going to be as interested in understanding that person and as the guy that, built a $10 million business. And what I've learned is their integrity does not matter their social scale or their socioeconomic spot in life.
I like that. What's one system that you wish you had installed sooner in your business?
Ooh, that's a good one. Derek does a lot of EO groups and stuff. He's learned a lot.
EO is phenomenal. I think the best thing about EO is it exposes you to personal growth, which I don't think is an innate feature. It was an innate feature in me is like, you gotta have a thirst for learning.
What do you find is one relationship that changed your business? Whether that relationship was, pardon?
Bart Dunn, my business coach,
The business coach that challenged him,
and CFO.
So would you say when it comes down to those type of relationships as a business, as you're growing, the importance of actually having a coach
I
as
think
an
a
entrepreneur?
coach is critical. You know, he's not a pound you into dust guy. He's just every week after week, he's gonna say, remember, you gotta do points. Like all your problems are because you're not doing points. Stay focused, do points, do points. Revenue solves all your problems.
always. Very
Steven,
wise man.
last question.
How are you using virtual assistants today, and what does that give you back?
So my marketing assistant, who does, guess what, 87 calls a day on average, which are 1 point a call. So now we have systemized
the point system.
500 points a week. Plus my other little VA, who I call Bangladeshi boy, he's been with me for 4 years. He's sending out about 87 emails a day, those half pointers. So I've systemized points, and we get 150 points a day, and I'm asleep.
The point system is taking off. Shout out to Bart.
Last question. I did have one last one.
Hey, I got one too. If you want me to sub it in, I don't know. Do you want to go 6 or you want me to sub it in?
You sub it in. You go. No, let's just. It might be the same question.
Okay. Derek, that book that you referenced that was about the old times of the industry. What book is that, and why would you recommend it to our moving company owners listening?
The Mobile Society, because it will lower your expectations.
Tell me a little bit about it real quick.
It's just the slog of how difficult and challenging this business has been since the 1800s, the late 1800s.
And where did they predict we're going to be at? This is the 1978 book, right? Helicopters. That was prediction in 1978 from our industry leaders.
That was supposed to be the 90s. The 90s were going to be helicopters.
That's so funny. That was my question, Steven. That was my question. So it's great. We both had the same question.
The Mobile Society, A History of the Moving and Storage Business. Why that was written, I'll never understand. How many
and
copies?
You can all find this book on Amazon, so good luck. Steven had to find it on like eBay. So
I got mine off eBay, and you'll be lucky if you could find it.
Yeah. Well, listen, today's Dolly Dash is brought to you by BHC Insurance, trusted since 1915. Ask Steven, ask me about it, or, better yet, why don't you call Trey Scallion at 501-278-0105. Or
to the editors, can you post a big Dolly Parton for Dolly Dash? Like
I'll get Dolly Parton.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a Tennessee thing, too. I like it.
That's a Tennessee thing. Yeah, for sure. Well, visit BHC Insurance at bhca.com. Make sure you check them out because they can help educate you on insurance renewals.
You definitely need a partner listening to Derek that will listen to you. I know that.
100%.
On the insurance world.
Find out what levers to pull and what to do to create demand for the moving insurance companies. Call Trey. Tell him to run the Movified strategy for your company to help you out today. Derek, right in the beginning, we talked about another division of your company. You kind of mentioned it a little bit, and I want just to expand on it before we end. Plush installations. Can you explain that? Because you had mentioned you don't really do commercial deliveries. You don't expand too much. You got the storage, you got your moving, and then there's plush installation. So what is that? And
what goes on in the plush club?
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I was approaching all these real estate agents, I was getting these jobs between $1 and $3 million. This was 10 years ago. Those are now $5 to $10 million homes. But what was happening was I was losing out. I would have the agent on my side to get the job. I'd have the neighbors of this homeowner that was like, hey, you got to get your move on. But the designer was in control of the move. And when I went out to these designers and worked my points to start conversations and understand their business, they're like, we wouldn't use a moving company. If it says moving, we've tried it, we didn't like it, we'll never try it again, right? So I found out there's this receiving and installation industry. It's very niche. Phoenix is a city of 6 million people. There's basically 6 of these companies. So I would guess that you got one of these companies per million folks in a market. As you get into smaller markets like Boise, they don't even have a company there that specializes in this. So you got to be in a certain size market. But essentially, I wanted to do those 3 million to infinity size jobs, but I needed to get to that person that was influencing who was going to be handling that furniture. And what I realized was there wasn't a move happening, and not an A to B move. The house they were moving out of that they bought in 2007 had furniture designed for that property at that time when that house was being built. That furniture is not going to fit or look right or be the right style for the new home that they're building. And these are the people that have the high storage needs. So you got renovation. So you go pack their closets, their personal belongings, their kitchen, and their artwork, and you bring that into storage. They use a third party like consignment store or liquidation for their furniture. And then all the new furniture for the new build, which is 6 to 9 months down the road, is going to be shipped. The designer is going to go out and purchase all of it direct from the manufacturer and sell it to, they're basically going to mark it up and they're going to sell it to that client. And it's going to be this sofa with this frame and this beading on the edge and this type of leather or this fabric that we're going to order from France. And it's all custom built, but it ships freight. So it has to get to Phoenix in a freight truck. And it all comes in, all the case goods come in. It's to the trade. So there will be a little mixture of like restoration hardware and Wayfair maybe, but the vast majority of it, that's to ensure that that client's desk is the only one in Scottsdale. And that sofa, none of her neighbors have that. And so you've got the homeowner, you've got the interior designer, the architect, and the builder, and they all work together to design the home. The home starts going under construction. Then the homeowner and the designer go and they pick out all the furniture, artwork, lamps, accessories, lighting. Okay, all the stuff that's loose in the house, and all that needs to ship to that warehouse while the house is being built. Because as soon as they get that COO, boom, they want install. They want home and garden 3 days later. Home and garden grand reveal, right? So what we do is we receive all that furniture. We inventory it, we photograph it, we inspect it, most importantly, because 5% of it comes in damaged. And if we don't catch it, it's on us. We're receiving $200,000 Natuzzi sofas in some cases. It'll make your eyes water sometimes. But
it's wild.
So then we receive all this stuff.
Yeah, we've had clients like that for sure.
But what we like about it is 50% of the revenue of Plush is storage, is warehousing fees, not even the receiving. 80% of the revenue happens in our warehouse. And then only 20% of it is us actually moving things off site. So your liability, in my opinion, is less because things are just sitting around. Everybody wants vaulted storage because it just sits there and recurring revenue, and you don't have guys hurting their backs, you don't have trucks breaking down, and you don't have things breaking, right? So for me, at my moving company, I'm about 20-25% revenue from storage. At Plush, it's 50%. And I got that high net worth client that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to service with just a moving company. And because of the economy, that business, you ask about all the trying to fix my company during the COVID hangover. This has insulated us from that because rich people are richer than ever. right now. They all got PPP. They sold their businesses, they're boomers, they're liquid, and they don't rely on interest rates, and they're buying and selling these houses like that are $10 million and they're paying cash.
Before you even think about getting into that kind of client, though, what does your operation have to be? What do you have to skill your movers for? Patience, right?
Well, you got
It's a
you got to have a warehouse with a dock.
Well, yeah, that would be definitely important.
You
You're gonna
definitely have
get-
to have a warehouse with a dock. You have
Oh
to
my
have
God, yeah.
extremely good inventory control because you can't lose this shit.
What software do you use for that?
Right now we're on Grasshopper. No shout out to Grasshopper. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but there's no smart moving for this business because there's just maybe 300 of these companies across the country. Right?
I got to give a shout out to Wally. Wally is
yeah.
Wally has a good software. Wally has a good software.
Does. Derek.
Oh.
For
this is a tits.
For those that are really trying to get into it, you also one of the things that we talked about actually just before the show started was the warehouse control. You have your inventory, you have the training of your guys. How often are you retraining or consistently training the guys on new products and what to look for and inspect? As an example, I remember when I had an issue with a high-end interior designer. Says, well, you missed this. You missed this little marking. And I said, well, how is this explained? Because from a mover's perspective, when they're analyzing something, they're looking for a scratch. They're looking for some type of marking damage.
You're talking about
this
a
furniture.
manufacturer's defect.
And we're talking about manufacturer defects. And so is there a consistent training with the guys to make sure that whoever is receiving the shipment is following like a certain checklist and protocol when you're analyzing photos? And then my other question is how detailed does your warehouse have to be in cleanliness, following, like a 5G method of
5S,
making sure that everything is. Thank you, 5S, not 5G. We're not talking about cell phones. The 5S
Toyota
system of just making sure that these items are for Mrs. Jones, and this is the product that's coming in here, and you're not that one little box that came in because they ordered something off Amazon is sitting on the other side of the warehouse. It's been inventoried, but
I'll speak to that. So one, at Get Your Move On, we used paper bill of ladings until 12, 13 years ago. We went to Movigistics. We were on Movigistics for 10 years. We ultimately had to switch to, Move It Pro. So 10 years at Mover Pro, 8 years at Mover Pro, and then we've been at Movigistics. The reason we had to use Movigistics is they have photographic inventory. So when my guys at Get Your Move On go out to pack a house to bring into storage, they take a picture of the piece naked, 2-3 photos, damage. Then they have a printer. They pad wrap it, top, bottom, and sides, stick the QR code on the outside, and then that is attached to that photo and is attached to that vault that piece ends up in. And when you have 1,500 vaults, you got to be an inventory control specialist. So that's why right now, to my knowledge, even though everyone says they're developing it, Movigistics is still the only software that can give me that level of detail on the Get Your Move On side, because it's important for the Get Your Move On side as well, because we have 20 vaults come in out of a $15 million house that was done by a decorator a year before, where they spent $1 million plus on their furniture. So it's just as critical there. Different workflow at Plush. You have a piece hit the dock, you open it, inspect it, photograph it in a photo booth, stick QR code from
nice
Grasshopper.
touch.
Grasshopper is a 3PL software. Then we have our racking. So you don't use vaults for warehouse for designer, you use racking. So we've got 30,000 square feet racked up. And then those racks have locations with QR codes. And we've only used 2 different softwares. The last software we used was called Windfall, which was clunky, and we had
old school
7 years, but we would lose stuff, and we would buy a $10,000 buffet on occasion. And the Grasshopper, since we've instituted Grasshopper, we haven't lost anything. And that's been
What?
2 years.
What a blow! Like, where's the damn buffet, guys? You signed for it. It's $10,000.
And 6 months later, Derek goes, "Hey, babe, we got a new
That happens.
a new buffet."
There's some things in this house right now that are like that. But I will also say that I am not a systems guy. I have very long tenured people. There's 5 middle managers that have been with me for 14 years. And I met them all at the Salvation Army at a meeting, basically. And all 5 of them are still here. So we have immense tribal knowledge, which is a big Achilles heel. But we pay our people well, and they're super engaged in what they're doing, and they stay. And they also can't get another job anywhere else, make $100,000.
Yeah.
So thank God. You know what I mean? So I recognize that I don't have the SOP books that Steven has of my business. It is cultural. When a guy starts training at our company, we vet them from our gut, right? We background check them, but we're only looking basically, you touch kids, you murder someone, okay, murderer, okay, no touching kids, right?
I mean, there's got to be some fine line.
You did your 20 years, you paid your debt to society, you're out, you're okay with me. But it's really about kissing 100 frogs for that one prince. And it really is, like, I think, that kind of number. You got to look at 100 people to get a good mover. And, so then they go out in the trucks with their crew leads, and the crew leads are the guys that decide if this guy's going to make it. Are their feet quick enough? We move. Our guys hustle. That's a big indicator. You have time to look at your phone and walk around the truck for no apparent fucking reason, or you're walking one direction to the truck or back without something in your hands, you're not going to make it. So we have very high, and so in about a week or two, we know if someone's going to make it as far as frontline movers. So we don't change softwares unless there's a really critical reason to do it. Every software, you got to have workarounds to make it work with your workflow, and we just kind of submit to that so that we don't have to keep changing.
You'll stress out everybody with change.
We recently hired Ready Rolls to help us with hiring some offshore help, some VAs, and they've done an amazing job. They found the perfect candidate for our company. Not only that, they helped answer the questions that we had about the process. Initially, hiring a VA can be a bit intimidating, but they answered all the questions. It's been an amazing experience. Our VA has been a huge part of our success thus far. We're actually in the process of hiring a few more right now. Definitely see them as being a key part of our growth and reaching our goals in 2025. And another game changer for our company. I'm confident to be a game changer.
Visit ReadyRolls.com. There is now a better way to scale.
Well, look, everybody, if you've been listening to this episode, I want to leave you with some action items. Develop your own type of point system, right? And start challenging yourself. Start challenging your sales staff. Have this implemented. I love, if you go back to, I don't know, probably around like 50 minutes and re-listen to Derek talk about how he engaged with the 5 top, points, how, like, who to seek after, and then how does this get breaking down for the half points, the point system. Maybe it doesn't work for you, but to me, this is a genius move to really start holding people accountable.
Or email Steven, and his assistant will send you the point system.
There we go.
Sitting on his desktop.
There we go. Or I
Exactly.
bet we could do join Movified Nation. Right? Join our
Join
newsletter.
Movified Nation.
Yeah.
If you join our newsletter and you're part of that newsletter, we will have it in the newsletter. Other
Thank
than
you,
that,
Derek.
it won't be
Like,
there.
dude,
Thank you, Derek.
just to say this too, you're in the middle of the action items, but I just want to say, Derek, thank you for your vulnerability and everything you shared in this episode. You just came off the gate.
I can't help myself.
Yeah. So keep going on the action items.
Write down one admin task that you should never touch again, and then delegate it. Derek, myself, probably Steven too. I mean, I'm a lot like Derek, where I think the more I delegate, the more it gets done way better. I remember I have said it on the show too. A lot of times I'd go to town for conferences or events, and I'd come back and, my office manager would be like, things were kind of running better when you weren't here. So
get out of here.
When do you need to go again?
That action items were brought to you by ReadyRolls.com.
Get a VA. You are a fool. I probably was selling VAs the other day to a bunch of guys that I know, from lawyers to financial planners, going, I have no idea why you do not have a Ready Roll client. And I think I got a new one for you, Stephen, too, because he has to follow up on that one.
What a day.
Get support before burnout forces the decision.
I'll say life forces the decision, from what we learned on this podcast with Derek, before life forces you. And what an incredible story, Derek, on the how your life shifted from jumping 6 hours to 6 hours. And me knowing you now, you're such a strategist. You know where you're going in 3 years, and you know each piece to get there. And it's inspirational to see that. But yeah, get some support before life forces the decision. And Derek, call Derek.
Yeah. Subscribe to Movified, everybody. If you are watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. Or hit follow if you're watching us on Apple or Spotify.
Can I jump in with a suggestion?
Yeah.
Action item.
Go to every single Moving Titan, Moving Legend, Movified podcast. Listen to Wade's stuff. Get to know these other guys. They in your hometowns. I am so close with there's 4 of us in this city that as Stephen just experienced, that are direct competitors. We all have kind of our little
this explains why Josh grew a mustache now.
Josh did get that from me.
Yeah, Josh is part of the group. No.
It prickles my dick a little bit, I have to say. But, Josh and me are tight. Justin and me are so tight. Chad and me are so tight. And we are direct competitors. And these are the guys that you can go have lunch with on a weekly or monthly basis and help each other. We really bonded during COVID when we were trying to get that PPP money, right? Because we were like, hey, are we essential? Like, that was when we were all knew each other fairly well, but we have gotten so tight, and we do business together, and we share business, and I drive revenue for Josh. I drive revenue for Justin. They do the same things.
Justin Hart, Josh Jurhill.
And Chad Olson from Camelback Moving. I mean, these guys, I have close friends, but we live the same life. And it is just remarkable how tight you can get with your local moving friends.
And nobody else can relate. I mean, it's not relatable. Your friends that you grew up with, just not the same. Your friends you meet just don't have the same struggles as this industry. And overcoming it's something. So good point there, Derek.
Join Movified Nation newsletter if you want to be part of the mastermind. Make
and
sure
get the $10
if you want to be. If you want to be a guest on the show, also, check out movifiednation.com and hit the podcast section and fill out that form. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to chat with you. We love stories, and especially if they're just as great and inspiring as Derek's. Make sure you visit readyrolls.com if you're admin.
I'll save my tampon story for next time.
Yes,
that's right. There's a part 2.
Well, there is because Derek has a great idea and concept that he has that he's always continuing to growing, and there's so much we can learn from Derek. So thank you again. I'm grateful for your time.
That's like the when you watch the trailer and we got the credits rolling up here, and then that next scene comes in, you're like, oh shit, they're gonna make a sequel.
Let's sit there.
Just threw it out there.
This is tampon in the string. Screws across the screen.
Part two soon to
coming
come.
Soon. This one's an hour and a half.
Everybody,
it might be 2 already.
No, we're gonna keep it 1. We're gonna keep it 1. I'm noticing
Joe Rogan.
when I split it into 2, everybody that's watching and listening, come on, everybody, you have to then watch part 2. Stay focused. There's too many hits on the part 1, but not enough.
So we're going Joe Rogan on this one.
100%. It's the way it is. Hey, everybody, stay movified. And until next time, we'll see you later. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Steven.